当一般投资人还在为了油价、电费感到焦虑，马斯克已经准备去收割太阳那5亿分之一的无限能源。今天我们不聊八卦，我们要聊的是马斯克如何打造一座重塑半导体定价权的星际收费站。这不是科幻小说，而是你未来资产翻倍的核心逻辑。大家好，欢迎来到安迪口财说，我是 Andy。上一集呢，我们深入的解析了华尔街顶级分析师对市场底部的判断，以及木头姐 K 讯物的 AI 营收14倍的爆炸式增长。很多老战友问我 ，Andy， 你以前在银行服务这么多大咖，如果通膨压不下来，科技股真的还会有支撑吗？说实话，以前我们在银行体系看的是财报，但现在作为独立资产规划顾问，我与我的伙伴具备全球金融业最高荣誉的美国特许金融分析师 CFA 的专家，在对过数据后发现 Elon Musk 刚刚启动的 TerraFab 的计划给出了最硬核的解答。这是一场关于半导体定价权的生存之战。这集我会用法人级的视角带你看透马斯克如何定义人类文明的财富规模。我们先看影片。
We aspire to be a galactic civilization. So I think the future that everyone, well, most people I think would agree is the most exciting is one where we are out there among the stars, where we are not forever confined to one planet, that we become a multi-planet species, like the best science fiction that you've ever read. You know, Star Trek, or Ian Banks, or Asimov, or Heinlein. And we want to make that real. Yeah, not just fiction. Turn science fiction to science fact. That's the glorious, exciting future that I certainly look forward to. It's worth considering sort of like, how would you rate civilizations? You know, there was a physicist, I think he was Russian, in the 60s, Kardashev. He thought about, at a high level, how would you consider any given civilization? And he said, well, if you're type 1, you're using most of the energy of your planet. And we actually still have quite a ways to go to be properly a type 1. We're still using a tiny fraction of the sun's energy that reaches our planet. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. But the Earth only receives about 0.5 billionth of the sun's energy. So the sun is truly enormous. The sun is 99.8% of all mass in the solar system. So sometimes people will ask me, like, what about, you know, other power sources of power on Earth? Like, what about fusion on Earth? Well, that is unfortunately very small because the sun is 99.8% of mass in the solar system. And Jupiter is about 0.1%, and Earth is in the miscellaneous category. We are, I think it's Carl Sagan, I think might have said, Earth is like a tiny dust mote in a vast darkness. Very, very small. The sun is enormous. So the way to actually scale civilization is to scale power in space. This is necessarily true because we actually capture such a tiny amount of the sun's energy on Earth because we're just this tiny dust mote. Another way to think of it is roughly like electricity production on Earth of all of civilization is only about 1 trillionth of the sun's energy, which means if you increase civilizational power output by 1 million, you would still only be 1 millionth of the sun's energy. I mean, it's awe-inspiring to consider that. Just how tiny we are in the grand scheme of things. And yeah, we often get sort of caught up in the sort of these sort of squabbles on Earth that are really very sort of minor things when you consider the grandness of the universe. And so I think it is important actually to consider the grandness of the universe and what we can do that is much greater than what we've done before.
各位，马斯克提到人类必须成为银河文明。根据卡尔达肖夫指数，一个文明的强弱取决于你能掌握多少能源。这里有一组我跟我 CFA 团队特别调出来的核心数据。地球目前接受的太阳能量仅仅为太阳总输出的5亿分之一。马斯克眼中的最强力度就是剩下那5亿倍尚未被开发出来的能源蓝海。这就是法人级的配置逻辑，有了无限的能源，才会有无限的算力。让我们带着这种宇宙级的格局，看马斯克如何把 AI 搬上太空。
I actually think that the cost of AI and deploying AI in space will drop below the cost of terrestrial AI much sooner than most people expect. I think it may be only 2 or 3 years before it is actually lower cost to send AI chips to space than it is on the ground. Because in space you don't need much in the way of batteries because it's always sunny. And the solar power, you're going to get at least 5 or more times the solar power you get in space versus the ground, because you don't have atmospheric attenuation or a day-night cycle or seasonality. And you're always normal to the sun. So you're really maximizing the solar power at that point. And the space solar actually costs less than terrestrial solar because you don't need heavy glass or framing to protect it from extreme weather events. So as soon as the cost to orbit drops to a low number, it immediately makes extremely compelling sense to put AI in space. It becomes a no-brainer, basically. Moreover, as you go to space, you get increased economies of scale and things get easier over time, whereas as you try to put more and more power on the ground, you run out of space. And you start using up the easy spots, and then you get next level NIMBY. Nobody wants the thing in their backyard. So actually increasing power on Earth becomes harder over time and more expensive over time, but in space it becomes actually cheaper and easier over time. These are very important points. What you just saw there was, because of course you're asking, what's on your mind is, well, what do you do after a TerraFab? Don't think small. Well, yeah, good point. So we, how do you get to a petawatt? Is the obvious next question. And you get there by having an electromagnetic mass driver on the moon with robots, with Optimi, and obviously lots of humans. And with that, you can send a petawatt. You can create a petawatt of compute and send that to deep space. Because on the moon has no atmosphere and has 1/6 Earth's gravity, so you don't need rockets on the moon. You can literally accelerate it to escape velocity from the surface. And that dramatically drops the costs, once again, of harnessing power and enables you to go 1,000 times bigger than a terawatt. So for sure, the future I want to see, I want to just live long enough to see the mass driver on the moon, because that's going to be incredibly epic. That should hopefully get us to 1/millionth of the sun's energy at least. Humbling to think about that. But 1/millionth of the sun's energy would be 1,000,000 times bigger than Earth's economy, so it's good from that perspective. And then, yeah, you expand beyond that to the planets, to the other stars, and create the most exciting possible future that I can imagine. This looks a bit like the opening in Idiocracy with Mike Judge, unlocking an age of amazing abundance. Yeah, obviously the elements of that are sustainable energy, space travel, and AI and robotics that bring amazing abundance to everyone. It's really the only path to amazing abundance is AI and robotics, which is not to say it can't go wrong. Hopefully, but I think it'll probably go right, and it'll be a future that you love. It's the best future I can think of, at least. And then we go beyond the moon, beyond Mars, and we sail through the rings of Saturn. Now, wouldn't it be amazing if you could buy a trip to Saturn? Or frankly, if you just have a trip to Saturn, I think things will just be free in the future. It sounds nuts, but if you've got an AI robotics economy that is anywhere close to 1 million times the size of the current Earth economy, literally any need you possibly want can be met. If you can think of it, you can have it. So I think Ian Banks, in his culture books, has it pretty much right, where there actually isn't money in the future, and there's abundance for everyone. If you can think of it, you can have it. That's it. Which means anyone could have a trip to Saturn. It won't be, just a few people. If you want it, you can have it. Yeah. Join us on this journey.
各位啊，刚刚的那段影片，马斯克给我们算了一笔最专业的财务账。很多人听马斯克讲太空，觉得那是烧钱的坑，但你发现了吗？马斯克眼中的太空啊，其实是全球最顶级的降本中心。他预言2到3年内，把 AI 搬上太空的成本会比在地面上来得低。这个就是最硬核的财经逻辑。在地球上盖数据中心，你要解决电网负荷，要应付昂贵的散热，还要解决各种政策的阻力。但在太空，太阳能是地面的5倍，散热是免费的，而且24小时不打烊。这不是科幻，这在专业资产规划中叫做营运效能的降维打击。当 AI 的运算成本趋近于0，这对科技股的毛利率将是历史性的喷发。更疯狂的是马斯克提到的月球质量投射器，他打算利用月球只有地球的1/6的重力优势，不用火箭，直接把算力卫星直接弹射到深太空，这能让我们的经济规模放大1000倍，甚至是10000倍。马斯克有说过一句话，我希望大家能刻在心里：太阳能源的100万分之一，相当于现在地球规模经济的100万倍。这就是为什么我说，如果你还在为了标普500的短期震荡感到忧虑，那是因为你还没看见马斯克正在建造的这座星际收费站。这支影片呢，我是要拍给那些愿意跟我一样选择站在乐观主义这边的投资战友。很多人问我，为什么离开银行后还要花这么多的精力跟 CFA 去研究这些硬核的数据？因为在投资的世界里面，悲观的人能赢得口舌，但只有看懂趋势并做好配置的乐观主义者才能赢得整个时代。如果你也认同这种专业驱动配置的逻辑，欢迎在下方留言与我讨论。我是 Andy， 这里是 Andy 口才说，点赞、订阅并分享，我们下集见，拜拜。